Universities have quite a few challenges in the years ahead. I think most important will be to assure that they can continue to accomplish their three missions: education, research, generation of new knowledge, and transfer that new knowledge to society in harmony with the society they're in. Universities have a tendency to drift off, become more insular. This criticism of an ivory tower doesn't come from just anywhere. There's a basic risk continuously that the university forgets where it is. And the university needs to remember not only its origins historically, but also its origin geographically. It needs to be here for society, which is supporting it, for a public university particularly important, but generally that we have a service to be done to society and that this is why we're here. Interdisciplinary research is becoming increasingly important because many of the challenges society faces today will not be solved by taking one approach. Be it climate change, being it an aging society, be it the digital transformation, will affect our societies at many, many different levels. So the take-home message is yes, if we want to address these problems in a proper way that will be satisfactory to society, many people with expertise will have to come together, each of them bringing their expertise. What we don't need are people who know a little bit about everything. We need people who know a lot about their thing, but can work with others. So we need people who can cross bridges, people who understand other languages, other cultures, but are well rested in their own culture, in their own expertise. The product of that research often is also rooted in many disciplines, and just as it takes people who have multiple cultural understanding to do the research, it also takes people with multiple cultural understandings to evaluate, to appreciate this research. And one of the challenges we have is that often if you publish in a specialized journals, the reviewers will also be specialized. They might not be people who are not only rooted in their topic, but also branch out. They might simply be rooted in their topic. And so that means that journals have a challenge if they get a paper that is interdisciplinary to also have reviewers that have been done doing that, who have been able to evaluate that so that it gets appreciated. And this is a work in progress. People learn how to do interdisciplinary research. People will learn how to evaluate them. Much of this research at the end ended to be either in social sciences journals because it's societal relevant, or in very high level journals, can even be in science. They tend not to be in very narrow journals. It would not be a journal of brain research or the journal of drone research where you would publish these things. So from that point of view, I see less of a challenge, but the reviewers need to understand what's going on and need to be able to judge it from that point of view also. Every university needs to be able to use technological tools to accomplish its purposes in research, in teaching, in knowledge transfer. And if it doesn't do that, it will not be able to do this job properly. Our university have different needs, have different purposes in life, have different DNA. Each university should become as good as it can at accomplishing its mission. But yes, more and more this mission will require the use of technology to be able to efficiently accomplish the goals. Do universities differentiate themselves well enough from one another? It's one of the big challenges. You could blame rankings, you could blame culture for that. Everybody wants to be among the best. And people forget that best is not an absolute single scale, but everybody should be the best at what they do. And from that point of view, I think every university should think very deeply, why am I here? Why have I been founded? And why do I keep getting support from society? And how can I become better at doing what society expects from me? It takes a lot of self-confidence to say, my role is not to be a top 100 universities. My role is to educate the students, the young people who come in this region. And I'm here to make sure that these people get good jobs afterwards and that I satisfy the needs of the region. I educate the physicians who will become primary care physicians in the region. I'm not going to make the next breakthrough in medical research, but that's okay. There's more and more science getting done today. There's probably more scientists alive today than ever were in the past combined. And that means, of course, that there's more scientific knowledge that gets accumulated. So yes, I would agree that the pace of incremental science knowledge is faster today than in the past. The conclusion from that would be that universities are challenged to not teach facts, but teach skills. So I teach my students how to learn, how to keep up with the literature, with knowledge, and to make sure that they understand that they need to have a rucksack, a backpack full of tools, and that these tools will allow them to attack the challenges that we have. I always say, what I want you to do when you come out of these universities, basically, if you're confronted with a challenging issue, I want you to first figure out, is there already an answer to this question? If yes, how good is this answer? Is it trustworthy? If there's no answer yet, how do I generate an answer? How do I make sure that it's a solid answer? And how do I communicate it to society? Switzerland has made great strides in the last, I would say, 2 decades in increasing the interest of young people in transferring knowledge from the institution to society through startups. Our young people today are much more entrepreneurial, much more willing to take a risk, much more interested in doing that than what they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago. We have also professionalized the services of the universities to encourage not only students to do that, but also empower them to do it. We have better courses, better clubs, better tech transfer offices. The venture capital system has become much more richer. There's more money being ready, more experience also in investing in young companies. If you look at how many companies come out of ETH Zurich or EPFL today compared to 20 years ago, yes, I'm very proud of the development. Are we there yet? No, I think we can do yet more. I see still 2 areas where I would really like to see more activities. The first is, at the very beginning, I think we could still encourage more students to think about this. They don't necessarily say, oh yes, I want to become an entrepreneur, but just think about it. Get comfortable with the idea. What happens there? How does this work? I'm sure that if more people are interested, more people will say, yes, this is for me, and we'll have more companies coming out. The second place, and this is a challenge for society, not for the universities, is scaling up. We are outstanding at taking new ideas, making new companies, getting them funded, getting them started. They get their 5, their 10 to 20 employees. And soon afterwards, the majority stay there. They might even be profitable, but they don't grow. Often I hear, I've conquered my niche. I'm happy, I'm profitable. What more do you want? And I say, I don't want you to conquer your niche. I want you to conquer the world. I want you to grow. I want you to become the company, not only for this application or for Switzerland, but for all the family of applications for the whole world. So there's this ambition to go and get a solution for the world. I think it's not there yet. Is it money? I don't know. Is it that the rules, the laws in Switzerland are too impeding? I don't know. Is it our culture? We're a country of SMEs? Maybe. I don't know. Here's a discussion that we're having with society to see how can we make sure that we not only have good ideas, that we start the companies here, but they will also grow here rather than growing somewhere else. I'm absolutely convinced that we need to do more for climate change, for the energy transition, mitigation and prevention as far as it goes, biodiversity protection. I'm convinced that this digital transformation that is already running for quite a few years now, society will continue, might even accelerate in changing the way we live, the way we work, the way we interact with each other. I'm absolutely convinced that we need to invest more into addressing these issues. It's clear what we need. It's clear what society needs. It's clear what we need to do for the energy transition, but we need to move forward. And I expect that the government takes the lead and pushes forward. They don't need to spend all the money, but they need to make sure that it happens. And a lot of people are looking up. Who will lead us if not our political leaders? The industry needs to work closely with academia so that we identify where can we make a difference? Where can we have a good position? We're now in AI, maybe a little bit where you were in the internet in the early 90s. It's completely open. There's no leader yet. There's big companies being interested. Are they going to be the winners? I don't know. I think here, if we generate an ecosystem where our young startups have a chance, we might be winners again, just like we did for blockchain, where Crypto Valley arrived because we were early movers and we had good, simple rules and where people invested. I want to do the same thing for AI. I think Switzerland should become one of the leaders of applying AI in a responsible way for society. There's a lot of demand that's going to come up there. I know we can deliver. I think, however, that again the government should ask itself, how can they again generate boundary conditions that will allow good ideas to grow? It's not necessarily a lack of money, it's a lack of opportunities that will hold this back. Companies tell me now, we don't have rules, so we don't know, we're insecure. How should I invest if I don't know what the rules are? So here the government should very rapidly make simple rules, the same logic as for blockchain again. We don't need new laws, we simply need to see where the current laws need to be tweaked so that it also applies to AI. We've run very well with that in the past. I think the government is thinking in this way. I think simply that we need to go into second or even third gear so that we don't end up in a situation where the big players will have made the rules and Switzerland will have no other option but to copy paste and follow suit. The university is an extremely diverse, rich environment. I often see it more like an association of SMEs than a big institution. Every professor is their own boss. They have their own product line. They have their own employees. They have their own funding. And the university leaders needs to convince these people, the students, the employees, the professors, where to go. So they need to be visionary. They need to have an idea where it goes, but they need to be extremely pragmatic. And they need to be able to converse with academia. Finally, because academia is within society, they need to also be able to talk to society, to politics. And here it's interesting. Politics also has rules, how they interact with each other. They're not the same rules as academia. So this person, again, needs to be multidisciplinary or even interdisciplinary, needs to be able to interact well with politics in the rules of politics, interact with society, with industry, the way industry functions, and be a good leader inside. So almost an impossible task, and we all struggle, but it's one of the best jobs in the world. And I'm extremely grateful that I'm allowed to do it.